My name is Jack. I work as a security guard at a large warehouse near Chicago. I am usually assigned to night shifts from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. It's simple: walk around the premises, check the doors, and record anything suspicious. One such night, I started my shift as usual. The wind howled outside the windows, and the streets were almost deserted. Inside, it was just me and a few surveillance cameras. At first, everything went smoothly: coffee, notes, quiet music. Translated with DeepL.com, free version. Around midnight, I heard a loud bang. I went to check it out, thinking someone had accidentally dropped something. Everything looked normal. Nothing was visible on the floor or on the cameras. I returned to my post, but the bang repeated, a little louder. I realized something was wrong. I decided to walk around the warehouse. I turned on my flashlight and began my tour. It was almost completely silent, only the echo of my footsteps reverberating off the walls. As I passed one of the doors, I heard a soft click as the door to the equipment warehouse closed. I approached it. No one was there. The door was closed. I looked around. Not a single car, not a single person. I returned to my post, trying to calm down. I turned on the cameras and checked the recordings. Nothing unusual. I thought maybe it was the wind or a technical issue. But similar sounds repeated several times throughout the night. My nerves were on edge. When morning came, I breathed a sigh of relief. My shift was over, and I went home. Later, I found out that there had been a theft at a neighboring business that very night. The thieves had left through a neighboring warehouse, which for some reason was unguarded. I don't know if this was related to my strange noises or not, but now I understand that working alone is not only boring, but also dangerous. I got a job at a 24-hour gas station near the highway. It was a small town, almost deserted at night. The shifts were boring. Truckers would come in, sometimes locals for cigarettes. But overall, after midnight, it was quiet here. That night was like any other. Coffee, cameras, radio in the background. I was even sitting there flipping through a magazine when I heard a car pull up. I looked up, but the headlights were off. It just slowly drove into the parking lot and stopped right at the entrance. 5 minutes passed. No one got out. The car just stood there, the engine running, the lights off. I looked at it through the window. It seemed strange to me that someone was sitting inside doing nothing. At first, I thought maybe they were waiting for someone, or maybe they were just glued to their phones. But then I noticed that the car windows were slightly open, and someone inside was smoking. I could see the cigarette glowing in the darkness. After 10 minutes, it started to annoy me. Usually, people either leave within a minute or drive away. But here, they just stand there. I started to wonder if the person was asleep inside, or had something happened. I went behind the counter, walked up to the door, and pretended to check the trash cans nearby. Out of the corner of my eye, I looked at the car. The cigarette was no longer smoldering. The person inside was sitting motionless. He wasn't looking at me. He was just sitting there with his head down. I went back inside. I called my boss. I explained that the car had been parked there for almost 20 minutes, and it was starting to worry me. He said, "Maybe the person is just taking a break. If they don't come out, it's not your problem." But I felt uneasy. I sensed that something was wrong. Intuitively. Another 15 minutes passed. The car was still there. But now, it seemed that the person inside had started watching me. As I walked around the hall, I felt like I was being watched. At one point, I thought I saw movement, as if someone was slowly turning their head in my direction. It wasn't aggressive, but tense. At around 4 in the morning, the car suddenly started, but it didn't drive away. It slowly moved closer to the shop window and stopped right in front of the entrance door. Now, there was only a glass wall between me and this car. The person inside still hadn't come out. I called the police. I told them that a man was acting strangely. The dispatcher said that the nearest patrol car was far away and would arrive in half an hour. I sat there and just watched the car standing in front of the entrance. I felt cold. It felt as if time had stopped. The minutes dragged on like an eternity. When I looked out the window again, the car was gone. I didn't even notice when it left. The cameras didn't show anything either. It was as if a piece of the recording had been cut out. I just sat there staring at the empty parking lot. When the police arrived, there was nothing to show them. Everything looked clean, as if nothing had happened. I worked at that gas station for a couple more months, but every time a car pulled up with its headlights off, something inside me tightened. I never found out what it was. Just someone who stopped to rest, or someone who was waiting for me to come out myself. That's what scares me the most. I worked as a night security guard at a warehouse in an industrial area near Detroit. The building was old but huge, long corridors, dark corners, metal doors. It was usually empty at night. My job was to make rounds, check the locks, and monitor the cameras. It was boring, but the pay was decent. That night started out like any other. Coffee, the camera screen, silence. Around midnight, I went on my first patrol. I went through the main gate and checked the warehouses. When I was returning, I heard a door slam behind me in one of the corridors. I went back to check. The door was closed, but I clearly remembered leaving it ajar. At that moment, I attributed it to a draft. Returning to the monitors, I heard a strange sound. On the recording from the camera at the south exit, someone was walking on the metal deck. The footsteps were slow and heavy, but there was no one visible on the screen. I got up and went to check for myself. The south exit led to a long corridor, which was always poorly lit at night. I turned on my flashlight and slowly moved forward. The footsteps stopped. The corridor was empty. I checked all the doors. They were locked. On my way back, I noticed that one of the boxes was not where it should have been. It was as if someone had moved it while I was at the other end of the building. I called my boss. I told him about the strange noises and the moved boxes. He said, "Pretend no one is there. If someone has broken in, you don't have a weapon. just lock yourself in the office and wait until morning. Easy to say. I returned to my post, but I couldn't sit still anymore. At around 3 in the morning, I heard the sound again. It sounded like something had fallen in the loading area. The camera showed a black spot in the corner of the screen. At first, I thought it was a glitch in the image, but the spot was moving, slowly. I grabbed my flashlight again and went over there. At that moment, I was already feeling anxious that I was making a mistake. When I reached the loading area, the stain was gone, but the door that should have been closed was now open, wide open. I didn't go inside. I just slowly backed away and returned to the office. I closed the door from the inside and sat down, staring at the monitors. Nothing. But I knew someone was there. There were 2 hours left until the end of the shift. Every minute I listened to the faint rustling sounds coming from the warehouse. It was as if someone was deliberately creating the impression that they were nearby. But they didn't show themselves. That night, I never saw who it was. But in the morning, when the next shift arrived, one of the employees noticed that a truck was missing from the backyard. They didn't touch me, but I think it was a diversionary tactic. While I was walking around the warehouse, someone was pulling the truck with the goods out through the dark side of the hangar. After that shift, I worked there for another week and quit. Not because I was afraid of the robbers, but because I realized that if I had opened the wrong door or ended up in the wrong corridor that night, it could have been worse.